Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the Landslide Druid. This is a perfect build to start a fresh Druid in Season of the Malignant. Over here I got the build pulled up. I'm going to put this in the description if you guys want to check that out. Basically, with the new Malignant hearts that have been released and the new legendary aspect, I think Landslide Druid is going to be your best bet for leveling. It already was, in my opinion, probably the best way to level a Druid, now even more so. So I got this build pulled up. We're going to go through the aspects, the gems, the skills, spirit boons, etc. so that you guys can check out why this build works pretty well, and love to hear if you guys have any thoughts on how to improve it in the comments. So I actually just want to start with the gems because I find it so interesting, and of course the Malignant Hearts. So Sapphire in the weapon for critical strike damage to crowd controlled enemies. My reasoning behind this is because Landslide is going to be guaranteed critical strike when we get those Terra motes, and so might as well increase that critical strike damage. Now, one thing that we have to think about with this one is that it's to crowd controlled enemies, so we have to make sure that they're crowd controlled either through Poison Creeper or aspect of Quicksand, right? Or even Storm Strike. So we have Immobilize, we have Immobilize from Storm Strike, Immobilize from Poison Creeper. Not only that, but damage from Earth skills are going to slow enemies. So that is one thing about this, increased critical strike damage to crowd controlled enemies. This isn't going to work on bosses because they can't be crowd controlled unless they're staggered. So I also do see sometimes players running with the Emerald, increased critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. And we do have Storm Strike available to make enemies vulnerable at will. But I'm going to stick with the Sapphire. I think this is the way to go. And then for the armor piece, we're going to put Sapphire % damage reduction while fortified. We're going to be generating Fortify through Earthen Bulwark, and that's going to give us a good amount of Fortify among some other ways as well. So those are the two gems. This Malignant Heart I think is really interesting. Check this out. Malignant Pact Wrathful Heart. Cycle through a Malignant bonus every 20 kills. Vicious, gain 20% attack speed. Devious, core and basic skills have a 15% chance to fully restore your primary resource. That's awesome. Brutal, every 21 seconds gain a barrier, absorbing X damage. So I think all of them besides the barrier I think are really fantastic, particularly the Devious bonus. I think that's amazing. Core and basic skills giving you a chance to restore all your primary resource. I think that's very strong. So this one is pretty generic. I think almost every build will probably include this one just because it's so strong. But what's really build specific is this one right here. Check this out. Moon Rage, I should say the Moon Rage. Kills have a 5% chance to summon a wolf companion to your side for 20 to 30 seconds. In addition, gain +3 to wolves. And we are using wolves in this build, as you can see right here. So 5% chance to summon a wolf on kill. That is so exciting. Like, I can't wait to try this out. I mean, how many wolves do you guys think you can get in this? I mean, you're going to probably have a massive pack of wolves following you around. So I think this one's really cool. And I'm actually really curious if this is going to synergize with Shepherd's aspect. Core skills deal an additional X damage for each active companion. So, depending on how many companions you have, I think you're going to deal more core skills. I'm curious if as you summon these wolf companions, it says right there, wolf companion, if that % damage is going to increase. And so Shepherd's aspect, I think, is really, really good for this build for that reason. Tempting Fate right here, I think is fantastic for this build because we're using Landslide with those guaranteed critical strikes. Check out what Tempting Fate does. You gain 40 to 60% critical strike damage, but your non-critical strikes deal 20 to 15% less damage. So in an ideal world, you're always going to have enough Terra motes, which you really should. You can really stack them up fast, and you're going to always be getting critical strikes with those. And so you might be thinking, well, Landslide's kind of a slow casting ability, right? Well, you can actually get Poison Creeper to cast Landslide with the new aspect called Subterranean Aspect. Check this out. Poison Creeper's active also casts Landslide in a circle around you. Earth skills deal 10 to 20% increased damage to poisoned enemies. So this is huge, perfect synergy. It really just fits perfectly into this build, casting those landslides for you. This actually can be earned from completing the season journey. You can see here on d4builds.gg, it says that it's in the codex. It can be added to the codex, right? It doesn't actually say you got to find it. You can add it to your codex, and I believe it's from the season journey. So you can pretty much get this guaranteed and put this into your build. Now, almost all of these aspects here you can get from, just the Codex of Power from doing dungeons, like Aspect of Mending Stone. You can get this from the Sealed Archives and so on. I think this one's fantastic, by the way. I absolutely love Aspect of Mending Stone. Your Earthen Bulwark literally triples in length, right? It goes from 3 seconds to 9 seconds because it's increased by 6. So this is one of my absolute favorites, Aspect of Mending Stone. Ballistic Aspect is perfect for any Earth build, giving you +2 Earth skills when you're fortified, which you're going to be generating Fortify with. And I should just let you guys know how we're generating Fortify, right? Check this out right here, called Safeguard. Critical strikes with earth skills fortify you for 7% base life. So once you get safeguard, good time to pick up ballistic aspect. And also this right here, preserving earth and bulwark, is going to also grant you fortify. So those are our two sources of fortify. Can't think of any more off the top of my head to go with. So, I mean, those are plenty. One thing that is kind of interesting with this build is actually with the use of Envenom. I know typically we don't use Envenom, or I didn't include it in my original Landslide leveling build, but because Poison Creeper is so important, and because we're getting guaranteed critical strikes with Landslide, and Landslide is cast when we use Poison Creeper, there's just too much synergy to pass up Envenom. It's just absolutely amazing. Poison enemies take 30% additional critical strike damage, and so, you know, we use Poison Creeper, it immobilizes them and poisons them. So we're getting Terramotes and they're poisoned, and then it's also going to cast Landslides. I think it's going to be absolutely insane, and those Landslides are going to deal 30% additional critical strike damage. They're going to be guaranteed critical strikes. Right here, they're going to do 40 to 60% increased critical strike damage. And then with Crashstone Aspect, Earth skills deal 30 to 40% more critical strike damage to crowd-controlled enemies, which when we use Poison Creeper, they're going to become crowd-controlled. This gets crazy. I haven't even played it yet. I already know it's going to be crazy. Now, this is the leveling build, and so it doesn't have the one aspect that I really, really like with this build, actually. So this is also not going to be found in the Codex of Power. I think this is very strong because we're using so many companions, and I'll show you why. But one aspect I really like, and I'm just going to save this with this particular aspect. It's just so powerful. I just think we have to include it, and that aspect is Aspect of Natural Balance. Casting a Storm skill grants your Earth skills 30 to 45% critical strike damage for 4 seconds. Casting an Earth skill increases the critical strike chance of Storm skills by 8 to 12%. And so the reason I love Aspect of Natural Balance for this particular build, and probably something you should get, I think, so I'm going to save this, save changes. Aspect of Natural Balance, you're going to be casting Storm Strike, which is a Storm skill, and then you're going to be granted 30 to 45% critical strike damage for 4 seconds. And so you should be weaving between Storm Strike and Landslide anyways, because we are getting Resonance right here. Nature Magic skills deal 6% increased damage. Triple this bonus if an Earth skill is the next skill cast after a Storm skill, or a Storm skill is the next skill cast after an Earth skill. So once you get Resonance, then you want to start weaving Storm Strike, Landslide, Storm Strike, Landslide. Both of them are going to be getting, what's 6 times 3? 18% increased damage. Massive. And so I really, really like that. I also get Nature's Reach, increased damage to distant enemies. It's 9%. Double this if they're also slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knocked back. So that's 18% increased damage. If you are casting Poison Creeper, those enemies, it has a pretty big AoE, and those enemies most likely are not going to be in melee range with you, so you will be getting that Nature's Reach bonus, which is really nice. Now you might be wondering, why not Trample, you know, instead of ravens or wolves? Why not get an ultimate skill? And the answer to that is because of Pack Leader. Check this out. Lucky Hit. Critical strikes have up to a 20% chance to reset the cooldowns on your companion skills. So these are all companion skills right here, and 20% chance to reset the cooldowns on critical strikes. Well, this is a guaranteed critical strike every time when we have Terramotes. And by the way, if you're curious, right here, check this out. It's called Primal Landslide. When you immobilize or stun an enemy, you gain a Terramote. Each enemy hit by Landslide consumes a Terramote, causing a guaranteed critical strike with 40% critical strike damage. Bosses always have up to a 10% chance to guarantee Terramote when hit. And so, you know, these little attacks that we're doing from our companions will also help generate those Terramotes, because that 10% chance on bosses. But we're also immobilizing consistently with Poison Creeper. We're immobilizing consistently with Storm Strike. You can see the modifiers there. Storm Strike has a 15% chance to immobilize all enemies hit for 2.5 seconds. And so we have plenty of ways to immobilize enemies and get those Terramotes. And when they're crowd controlled, of course, we get tons of bonuses to our damage. We get fortified, etc. So those are the main things. This is really great. Obsidian Slam, get those overpowered critical strikes, which is always good. We don't need critical strike chance in this build at all, so don't get Scythe Talons, but we do want 30% increased critical strike damage from Avian Wrath. Attack speed is great too. And then Wariness is always the best Deer Spirit Boon, because elites are champions, elites, bosses, world bosses, and blood marked players, the most deadly bosses and enemies in the game, and so get that 10% DR. Am I missing anything? Aspect of the Umbral is really great. Whenever you crowd control an enemy, you restore your primary resource, so you're gonna get a bunch when you use Poison Creeper. You're gonna get a bunch when you immobilize with Storm Strike, and even when you use Landslide on an enemy, you're gonna slow them and actually get some resource back as well. I love Aspect of Disobedience. I think that one's fantastic. Always getting that one. Aspect of Retaliation. Check this out. Your core skills deal up to 20 to 40% increased damage based on your amount of Fortify. Again, this is something you're going to want to seek out once you get Stone Guard, which is that Earth skill passive that makes it so that your Earth skills grant you Fortify right here. Check this out. Stone Guard, or sorry, Safeguard. Critical strikes with Earth skills fortify you for 7% base life. Perfect for a landslide build where you're getting guaranteed critical strikes. But this right here, Stone Guard, which is what I was talking about, well, you have Fortify over 50% of your max life. Your Earth skills deal 12% increased damage. So you want to get this one too because you're going to be generating that Fortify, and so might as well get that bonus for it. I love Crushing Earth. It really just fits in the whole like crowd control damage. Earth skills deal 15% increased damage to slowed, stunned, immobilized, or knockback enemies. They're going to be slowed. They're going to be immobilized. So Crushing Earth is perfect. And then when it comes to the key passive, you know, I'm always kind of back and forth between Ursine Strength and Earth and Might. I love Earth and Might so much because getting all of your resource back is just so strong. It does also cause all of your attacks to be guaranteed critical strikes, and I think that fits really well with the build. But right here, you know, you just gain 30% increased damage just passively. So I'm back and forth between them. I can't really decide exactly which one to get. Do we just want always getting 30% increased damage, or do we want Earth and Might? You know, when I made this, I was thinking Ursine Strength, but the more I think about it, I think Earth and Might's the way to go, because once you make all of your attacks guaranteed critical strikes, even though you're already going to have them guaranteed critical strikes with Landslide, perhaps Tempting Fate is better. Let me know in the comments, guys. I keep going back and forth. I don't know which one is better for this particular build. I'm going to leave it with Ursine Strength. But this is the build. I think it's going to be very effective. I think these are the best hearts to pick for this particular build. It's going to be very companion focused because of the Moon Rage right here. You're going to have tons of wolf companions. Shepherd's Aspect makes your core skill deal more damage for every active companion. Could even Aspect of Quickstand, or I don't know which one you'd want to get rid of, because all of these offensive aspects are good. But I originally started this with Stampede, Aspect of the Stampede, which says gain one additional companion. In addition, your companion skills deal 16 to 26% bonus damage. Since you have so many companion skills and they reset when you critically strike, Aspect of the Stampede feels like it would work well on this build. Where do you fit it in though? I'm not exactly sure. So yeah, that's sort of where it is, but I would probably ultimately stick with the natural balance for 30 to 45% increased critical strike damage. I think that's even better because you're always gonna be critting with Landslide. So this is the build. I also put the stats you'd want to go for. I think it's exactly the same despite the nerf to vulnerability and critical strike. A very critical strike focused build I think is still fine. So we're getting things like critical strike damage with Earth skills, vulnerable damage, all of that all around. We're even getting damage to poisoned enemies because of Poison Creeper. And by the way, it's not just an active ability. A Poison Creeper is going to periodically emerge from the ground and deal poison damage, and that's going to actually put that poison effect on things like bosses where maybe you don't have your active ability ready to go. So I think this is a really strong build. Click save. We'll put that in the description. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this build. I'm really excited. And by the way, I will be streaming this build today, a little bit later in the day. So tune in to twitch.tv/Toyhouze if you want to see this build in action. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.